Today, I wanted to cover what is one of the best and most enjoyable Prismatic Warlock builds that we got with this season. This new build will allow you to build Transcendence fast, have great crowd control, and utilize two exotics that recently received some major buffs. In today's video, I'll go over what the subclass setup is for this build, what weapons and mods you'll want to pair with it, and what the combat flow for this build looks like. So with that being said, I'm SniperKH, and let's get into the video. Let's open up with what the subclass layout will look like. As the title and intro of the video suggests, you'll need to run the Prismatic subclass on the Warlock for this build, as I find that will bring more to the table than any other subclass could. For your super, you'll need to run Nova Bomb, as the exotic armor we'll be running with this build will require you to have a Void super. For the Rift, you'll want to run Empowering Rift, as you'll be utilizing an exotic that benefits from this choice. For your melee, I'd suggest using Pocket Singularity, as it'll give us easy access to Volatile, which we'll expand on more later. For your grenade, I liked using Healing Grenades, as they have the shortest cooldown of all available Warlock grenades for this subclass, which will let us get access to Bleak Watchers much faster. For our aspect, we'll be using Bleak Watchers and Hellion. Bleak Watchers will give us a great source of crowd control thanks to its slowing and freezing capabilities, and with us using Healing Grenades, we should have access to Bleak Watcher turrets often. For Hellion, I liked it since it gives us a solar buddy that can help with ad clear and give us some slight boss DPS. Thanks to the aspects we've selected for this build, we get access to 6 fragment slots, with each having a nice effect that will be added to this build. To start us off, we'll be equipping Facet of Hope, as we'll constantly have elemental buffs up with this build, allowing us to get our class ability back faster, which will be super helpful for this build. Next, we have Facet of Sacrifice, which will grant us more Darkness Transcendence energy when we have a light elemental buff active, which should be 90% of the time. Additionally, Facet of Devotion will be fantastic for this build, as the enemies we'll be killing with this build should be affected by our Bleak Watcher turrets, which will give us light energy. We'll also be using Facet of Purpose, as this will let us get easier access to Devour, which will give us a nice way of getting our health back. From there, we'll also be using Facet of Dawn, and for the 6th and final fragment, I chose Facet of Awakening as it gives us Void Breaches. Moving on to the exotic we'll want to pair with this build, I chose 2 exotics that got buffed with the launch of Heresy, as these 2 exotics will work wonderfully together and will elevate this build to the next level. For the exotic armor piece, I chose to run Seek and Filament. Seek and Filament grants you Devour when you use your Empowering Rift, which is why Empowering Rift is necessary for this build. Additionally, Bungie buffed Seek and Filament, making it so that you can get class ability energy back on kill when Devour is active. Considering that we're also using Prismatic for this build, you can also get an exotic class item that rolls Spirit of Filament on it. If you choose to use an exotic class item, I'd highly suggest targeting a class item that has Spirit of Filament and Spirit of Starfire, as Spirit of Starfire will further boost your grenade regeneration. If you don't have that class item, then using Seek and Filament will work just fine. For the exotic weapon, I chose to run Hard Light as it got a massive buff. If you didn't watch my video that covered exotics that I predict will dominate this season, I included Hard Light, as the fundamentals perk is getting reworked to grant this weapon a 30% damage bonus when applying or receiving an elemental keyword that matches the element that Hard Light is set to. Since we're using Seek and Filament, we'll have easy access to Devour, which is a void keyword, meaning that we'll readily have access to the 30% damage bonus for Hard Light. Pairing this with the newly buffed Seek and Filament will mean that we'll have a satisfying loop where using your Empowering Rift grants you Devour, which shields you back to full health per kill. Thanks to Seek and Filament granting Devour, Hard Light will gain 30% more damage, allowing you to shred all ads and all content. And since we'll be getting a lot of kills with Hard Light, we'll be getting class ability energy back, letting us repeat this cycle over and over again. In terms of weapons and mods to use with this build, I chose to run a grenade launcher to have a strong bossing weapon since we'll have ad clear under control. For mods, I found it to be fairly free on what you could and couldn't run. For my helmet, I prioritized mods that would help me benefit from hard light kills, such as Void Siphon and Heavy Ammo Finder. For my gauntlets, I found Bolstering Detonation and Font of Focus to be the go-to mods. Bolstering Detonation will help you get your class ability back faster since you'll gain bonus energy from grenade hits, which works with Bleak Watchers, and Font of Focus will give us a boost to Discipline when we have an armor charge, which should be most of the time. For our boots, I opted for 2 copies of Enervation and 1 copy of Void Weapon Surge, because why wouldn't you want to further buff your weapon's damage? For my class item, I chose to run 2 copies of Bomber for more grenade energy when using my Rift, and Powerful Attraction to suck nearby orbs of power in. Additionally, this build benefits from this episode's artifact, so we'll be using Volatile Marksman, which grants our Hard Light Volatile rounds on rapid Void weapon kills or hits, which should be easy enough. Maligned Harvest, which will grant our Hardlight the ability to apply a weakening burst to an enemy after rapidly applying Volatile, and Void Flux, which will apply Volatile to nearby enemies after defeating weakened targets, which will be easy thanks to Maligned Harvest. For the combat flow, I would start by throwing my Bleakwater Turret, as that will allow us to start charging it up again. From there, I'd pop my Empowering Rift, which will grant us Devour, and start killing adds with Hardlight to start charging my ability back faster. Additionally, you should be proccing Volatile Marksman with Hardlight hits, and you should be generating Orbs of Power on Hardlight multi-kills. This is important as that'll allow us to use our other artifact mods while boosting Hardlight's damage further, while also granting us Devour if you lost it, making it much easier to get health back. From there, continue getting kills with Hardlight to charge your class ability, and once you get it, pop it again to get more grenade energy. Once you've recharged your grenade, rinse and repeat that process for a seamless and easy to follow combat flow. Overall, this build is super fun to use and is really easy to get results from. Thanks to the easy access and the ease of upkeep for Devour, alongside the help of a supercharged Hardlight and Bleak Watchers, I truly believe that this build is simply unkillable if used correctly. Well, that'll wrap up today's build guide. If you found it useful, a like rating would be greatly appreciated, and consider subscribing to the channel for more Destiny 2 content dropping soon. If you'd like to come catch me live, then you can do so over at twitch.tv/SniperKH_, where I'll be live streaming Heresy in the new dungeon once it releases. Otherwise, check out my social media platforms linked below for updates on when I upload and go live. With that being said, I'm SniperKH, and I'm out. Good luck with gaming.